If it's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island, hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Hey, Piscopo in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, it's 9:25. This gentleman next to me is Curtis Ellis, Senior Policy Advisor with America First Policies. You know, you come back, Curtis. You come back and you visit us. God
right.
bless you, my son. You know, everybody goes down there. Peter Navarro comes back. It's you and Peter. That's it. You know, I say to Kellyanne, who I adore, absolutely. Kellyanne, come back to the show. But they're a little busy, I think. Now. They're a little occupied, right? Like that,
Yeah.
So listen, we appreciate you coming back, man. How is everything in the White House? What's the tenor of the White House, in your opinion?
They're pumped.
Yeah.
They're pumped
And
up.
they go, oh, the president must be so upset. He's living and loving every minute of it.
He's loving it.
Huh?
He's loving it.
It's wild.
And you know, the other Republicans got to get on board and start loving it. Look, everybody in Washington is so serious.
Yeah.
They take themselves so seriously. They don't realize the rest of the country thinks they're a joke. They ought to start laughing. The president's laughing.
Yeah,
He's loving it. It's like he loves a fight. So this is better than a 5-way World Wrestling Federation
it's interesting.
matchup.
You go New York to Washington, that corridor, and I've talked about this before. As I go out and I tour around the United States, this wonderful, beautiful country, and I tell you now, I'm going to take off people when I say this because they go, oh. They love this president. They love,
do.
and I was shocked because I know Donald Trump for 30 plus years. I know how he is. I know his faults. I know his flaws. I know how smart he is. I know what he can do for this country. That's why I voted for him. But when they go out, they idolize him. Idolize him. We love that you stick up for the president. Joe, Biloxi, Mississippi, you're our kind of guy, Joe Piscopo. We like your politics. We back the president, you know. And then down the shore, Curtis, listen to me. I posted a picture. They have flags, all patriotic, like I've never seen before since 9/11.
Yeah.
American flag, the local Jersey flag, Donald Trump 2020 flag. You know, but in Washington, they have no idea.
They have no idea. They're clueless down there. It's really, it's like I say, it's a joke. We think it's a joke, but unfortunately, they run the country, or they think they do.
Yeah, well, it would be nice if the Republicans got together and did some kind of, an immigration plan together. Paul Ryan joined everybody together with McConnell. You know what I mean? If they all got together while we, meaning the conservatives, have the power, because what can happen in the midterms, you never know.
Well, you know, I just heard this morning, I finally found the one illegal immigrant that the ACLU is not sticking up for.
What was that?
There's a Nazi war criminal who's being deported. The ACLU has not intervened to stop the deportation.
It's early yet.
That's right.
You know, my gosh, you believe that guy? 95 years old?
He lied to get in the country. Well, we got millions of people who did that.
Yeah. It's so true. You had a fascinating column on Donald Trump and the deep state. And again, we talked about it with Frankie Five Boroughs. Donald Trump is going head-to-head with the deep state. These guys, and it's not like a, they go into a chamber and then they have a meeting. It's just guys that want to hold on to their pension and welfare and health care and go from government job to government job.
Right.
And they don't want anybody bucking the system, and Donald Trump is hitting them right smack between the eyes.
Yeah, that's why people love him.
Yeah, that's very true, you know. It's why we support him. Give us your take on...
Every election since 1980... even before 76, you go back then, Jimmy Carter, everybody, I'm going to stand up to Washington. I'm an outsider, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And they usually get there. You know, Reagan didn't. He kept true to his colors. They get there, and then they go Washington, and they never come back to the Joe Piscopo show.
Yeah.
Finally, we get a president who does that.
Yeah.
And, time after this whole thing with the security clearances. Look, Dwight Eisenhower warned against the growing influence of the military-industrial complex. Today, he'd call it the National Security Clearance Industrial Complex.
That's great. That's so true.
Trump is like striking a blow. These people make money. They get their security clearance. They cash in on it. They act like they're experts on everything. And what they do is they advise, well, we got to classify more material. We got to and give me more money while you're at it. Trump is taking it apart step by step. Every step along the way.
Is he getting more powerful, the president, you think, over the last 2 years? Is there momentum in this regard?
Yeah, certainly. And, I think what's happened is for the first few months there, first 6 months maybe, he was surrounded by these people who said, well, you don't understand. We'll show you how this works.
Yeah.
Well, now he understands how it works. He's like, okay, thanks. I've got it. You don't have to. I don't have to follow what you say. McMaster, gone. All these experts, gone. All the globalists, all the deep state people, not all of them, but a lot of them are gone. Gary Cohn, back to the Hamptons. It's like, I don't. Thanks for your advice. I know how to do this. I'll take it my way.
If we can ask Curtis, and you don't have to answer because I know you protect your confidentialities when you talk to these people. Have you talked to the president one-on-one? Do you have a chance to sit with him as an aside?
Yeah.
And see, is he worried at all when Michael Cohen's looked at, Manafort's looked at? They're going after.
He hasn't done anything. The president hasn't done anything. Look, so Michael Cohen sells taxi medallions or buys taxi medallions or pastes them on his forehead when he's in bed with his wife. I don't know what he does with taxi medallions. But what does that have to do with President Trump? Nothing.
Yeah.
And so now the $20 million tax fraud, well, that's Michael Cohen's problem. And Manafort, I mean, the whole thing is just...
It's cruel and unusual punishment, no matter what he did. No one deserves solitary confinement. When the terrorists in that New Mexican compound, those terrorists, they walked. They walked. The judge lets them go and puts an ankle on their bracelet. Manafort, they weren't even sure what he does.
And who, by the way, who was running the FBI when Manafort was doing all this stuff?
Mueller.
Bob Mueller. Yeah. Well, I guess he was asleep then. He's asleep now.
Yeah. It's a scary situation. Tariffs. Let's talk about tariffs.
Yes.
So we like the tariffs. We understand the tariffs, and we think that these countries will come around.
Yeah.
But does it seem like China is wavering at this point?
Oh yeah. China, it's like the Roadrunner cartoon, and Wile E. Coyote runs off the cliff. He doesn't know he's off the cliff till he looks down, and then he falls. That's China. They've already lost the trade war. Their economy is sputtering. Their stock market dropped 20%. There's no growth in their economy. They got nothing left to do. They can't put more tariffs on American goods because there ain't no more American goods that they can tariff because they don't buy anything from us. They also are in this weird position. By the way, everybody talks about interference in our election. That's what the Chinese are doing.
I know, man.
They and everybody admits it.
I know.
You read it on the front page of the Times. Well, the Iowa farmers might turn against Trump because of the tariffs that China put there, and Kentucky bourbon. Oh my gosh, Mitch McConnell is going to buckle because a shot of bourbon costs $1 more now or something in Shanghai. I don't know. I don't know the thinking, but China makes no bones. They're using tariffs as economic sanctions to force regime change. That's illegal, by the way. The World Trade Organization says you don't put tariffs on to influence elections. You do tariffs to, protect against illegally subsidized imports. There's 4 reasons, very specific reasons. Donald Trump had a long investigation. We determined that steel is being dumped here. We determined that, these various Chinese goods were based on stolen property. You can't fence goods into the U.S. Sorry, you can't do that. Yeah. China, is like, well, we want to change the voting patterns in America, so that's why we're going to put tariffs on. And nobody complains. Nobody complains. All the people who are so upset about Russian meddling in our election, China comes along and blatantly says that's what we're doing, and they don't say anything.
And they're looking at Russia. That's all they look at. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, where China is the one building up a military. Yeah. That's why the Space Force situation, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody chuckles at that. Yeah. China's up there, man, doing something. And God forbid there's an electromagnetic pulse that goes off. That's right. Over the United States.
I was talking to Mike Pillsbury, great China expert. He went over to China with Nixon, and he's been involved ever since. Wow. And he's been involved in Pentagon war games where, they play out, and China tries to take over Taiwan. The United States wins in these war games when China follows American tactics. He says, and he's on the China team, by the way. He pretends to be China. He says, when we follow Chinese tactics, China wins. What are the Chinese military tactics? Attack our satellites, knock out our communications, knock out our GPS, knock out all that stuff. Like you say, with a electromagnetic pulse in high orbit, blind all the satellites. our battleships become bricks. They become floating bricks. They can't see anything. They can't navigate. They can't do anything.
And then I get people who tweet me. I appreciate your time, Curtis.
Sure,
I could talk to you for hours about this stuff.
I could stay here all day.
Well, I'm telling you, though, people on Twitter, I don't want to give identification away, where they said there's something going on in the South China Seas. Is there something that you know that you could break to us on the air, or just is there a buildup there?
Oh, yeah, there's total buildup. The Chinese have built up these islands. They claim that territory is their own. It's disputed. Every country around there, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, they all claim the South China Sea is their territorial waters. China has the money and the wherewithal to fortify these islands. They put long-range bombers in there that are now targeting the U.S. They've got the whole thing. You know, I think it's peculiar. We have been patrolling the South China Sea, the American Navy, to keep the sea lanes open, to make the South China Sea safe for Chinese exports to the U.S. It's like,
wow,
wow. So we're giving them the money to build up the islands that we're now disputing.
Are we adding to our fleet there? Are we emboldening our Navy in that area?
Well, we keep sending the Navy in to patrol, like, freedom of navigation business. But the Chinese are, they're looking at the next generation of weapons. And as you were saying, knock out our satellites. If there were ever an actual confrontation, a warlike confrontation, it's really questionable as to who would come out on top.
Curtis Ellis, so you're telling us that there are war games, and the Pentagon goes through these war games, and in those war games, the Chinese, this is all hypothetical, but the Chinese would attempt to take out our satellites.
Yeah.
And this is why the president gets this information, this intel.
That's why he wants to do a space force, and why, based on her latest actions and statements, I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is auditioning to be head of the Space Force.
This is so great, man. And Larry Kudlow's on board. You know, he's like, because Larry's on board too. Because every time we talk, he goes, "I talked to Joe Piscopo. I'm going to get him to come around yet," because he's like a kind of a free trader. But he's with the tariffs and everything now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because look, President Trump is doing more to defend free trade than anybody has. China has the highest tariffs in the world.
Yeah.
They're like 10 times higher than American tariffs on any given product. 3, 4, 5 times. But everybody pretended. Let's pretend it's free trade.
Yeah.
President Trump is saying it's not free trade. Let's have reciprocal free trade. What we do to you, you do to us. What you do to us, we'll do to you. You put 25 times tariffs on us, we'll put 25 times tariffs on you.
Is Tim Cook bringing Apple to the United States, man?
He ought to. He better. See what's going on here, and this is how China's already lost the trade war. Business after business, industry after industry is realizing we better not invest in China because we don't know what's going to happen next year. President Trump just might throw another bomb, roll another grenade onto the shop floor there. So let's invest in the United States. Taxes are low, regulation is low, great economy, customers are buying, they've opened up their wallets. Let's invest there. Let's build our factory there instead of building it in China. And that's not going to change. The whole 20-year fashionable model of invest in the cheap labor in China, it's like, because we have certainty and everything, we know what the business climate's going to be for, to the horizon. That's over. That's over.
Curtis, thanks for coming in, man. Always good to see you. I know Charlie Finch would want me to send personal best too. Charlie's a regular listener, the professor on our show. He is, and you are too, man. Appreciate you coming back and giving us the inside line as much as you can. And you're welcome here anytime, my brother.
All right.
Thanks, Curtis.
I've been out of town too long. And I know Frankie's asked me to come by several times, and it's like, I'm not even here.
Thank you, man. It's good to see you, man. Curtis Ellis right there. Curtis is Senior Policy Advisor with America First Policies. Piscopo in the morning.
Everybody knows this guy. Now, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.